Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print, the Force is with the readers, and we return to July of 1983 for kind of a lackluster Marvel comic this time around. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler. The issue we're looking at this time is issue number 77. Here we have Luke with a green lightsaber on the cover, even though this is set prior to Return of the Jedi, so how is that possible? He doesn't have a green one in the story itself. And a Hook, H-U-H-K, there on the cover from Lasbane that we saw a few issues back. Looks like there's going to be some serious knockdown, drag-out fighting in this issue. Yeah, not so much. There is no Hulk or Hook Smash kind of stuff here. Puny Jedi. Nothing like that. You will find this in the pages of Star Wars Omnibus a long time ago, Volume 4, These Days. It's a story entitled Chantanus, I believe that's how you pronounce it, of the Stars. And boy, is it a lackluster tale. We start out with kind of an odd premise here. Han Solo has been on Carbonite since The Empire Strikes Back. And granted, there's only a 9-month gap between the two films, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He's been on ice the entire time. We're getting closer to Return of the Jedi, and they say, well, you know what? We got information from Yam Argo from Lasbane. We have information that Tay Vanus had been on Gamandar. We're still looking for Tay Vanus, his droid, and the tapes of information that are so important to the rebellion that we don't exactly know what the information happens to be. But it turns out there may be somebody else who had that information, and it is revealed that that person is Han Solo? How is that possible? Even Lando and Chewie are like, how could Han possibly know anything about this? But they're not willing to speak up, at least they initially are not, because, hey, anything that has the rebellion sending them out to look for more clues of where Han Solo has been taken by Boba Fett is a chance for them to look for Han. Though Leia stands up, and it's one of, as Luke says, the bravest, most unselfish thing he's ever seen her do. She stands up and says, Commander, no one is as anxious to find Captain Solo as we are. But we cannot let our feelings blind us to the truth. He's been a prisoner of bounty hunters encased in a block of carbonite ever since Lando Calrissian joined us at the planet Bespin. So, there's no chance that this could possibly be what you think that it is. But still, they need to check out that lead. So our heroes go off in different directions again. The droids, Chewbacca and Lando, go off on their own route. We'll see them in one of the next stories, supposed to be the next story, but it actually is 2 issues from now, while Leia and Luke and Pliff, the Hoojib, go off on another mission. They go to the space station Cabrae, which is hosting a huge diplomatic function. Supposedly, at one point, Tay Vanus was there and may have hidden vital information there for him to either go back and get later or for the rebellion to go back and retrieve later. And they show up in the middle of a huge reception, a diplomatic reception, with a whole lot of Zeltrons present. Introduced, of course, with Danny back a few issues ago, but of course now we're seeing them as a bigger culture. They'll become a bigger part of Mary Jo Duffy's run on this series. At this diplomatic dinner where Luke feels like a fish out of water and Leia feels right at home, they're acting as people who are there as servants, basically, as part of the entourage for Pliff. And Pliff is the one who plays out this idea that he is the actual diplomat. There's a guy at the door who's basically mocking them and kind of like, why should I let you go through? Why shouldn't I just have the stormtroopers blast you right here? And it's Pliff who telepathically comes out and says, and just what qualifications do you have outside of officiousness, boorishness, and misguided snobbery for any duty whatsoever? When the young lady and the gentleman agreed to join the delegation I lead, I assured them they would be subjected to no unpleasantness. Make a liar of me again, and I assure you the Imperial Governor of this satellite shall hear of it. So, Pliff's kind of badass. Pliff has a chance to really kind of push forward with that attitude and give them the breadth that they need, the working space that they need to be able to seek out the truth of Tay Vanus' mission. Luke winds up running afoul, running, what's the opposite of a foul? A good, of a couple of Zeltron women who are following him around through the entire story. It's the, oh yeah! Have you ever seen a moonwalker? It's like the, it's Michael Jackson kind of stuff. It's the, they're following him around. It's possibly going to mess up his mission. Fortunately, he is able to find the information that was left by Tay Vanus, though where it will lead we'll see in future stories. Leia, meanwhile, tries to hide out in the kitchen while she's looking for stuff. That doesn't work. And eventually, Leia slips into a dressing room to escape, winds up putting on a wig of a singer who has just decided to leave because she won't work in a freak show. And Leia, in typical crappy storyline fashion that we see used all over the place in bad television shows, she's pushed out there as she's going to have to be the singer. So she sings to cover for the mission. And Luke's like, really? For real? how am I supposed to get Leia out of this one? Unfortunately, in the crowd, there are some last bees, right, from back in Last Bane, a few issues ago. And one of them must be near puberty because he's fascinated by the beautiful Leia as she sings, and he's like, you can almost picture the cartoon sound zoink or something, and it's like, Pow! And he goes from cute little Lasby to overly sexualized, wow, she's purty, Huck. The incredible Huck. Sorry, don't let a Lasby get horny, because he will turn into a Huck. And this Huck is potentially going to kill a lot of people. Unfortunately, the Stormtroopers can't stop them because Lucas had Pliff go and drain their blasters, so we've got trouble. What's gonna happen? Well, Leia can sing and calm the savage beast until he sits down at her feet, smiling, happy, and somewhat in love. And we end the story with Luke sitting there like, with the Lasbies, with the Zeltrons, and a couple of Lasbies there kind of giggling. One of them, his last line is, tee-hee-hee, literally just written out as, tee-hee-hee. Wow. So, we have a story that continues this search for information from Tay Vanus. But like Last Bane, it is a story where in and of itself, it doesn't have a whole lot going for it. It's not one that's going to change the status quo much, but it does give us another link in that chain. As a story in and of itself, this story is really, really bad. It's one of the worst of Mary Jo Duffy's run on the series. It's just that lame. Really? Leia, to escape, winds up becoming a singer, and it makes a Lasby so excited that he winds up going through immediate puberty and turns into an incredible Huck? Ugh. I should also note here that this is another of these issues that claims that something big and new is coming in the next issue, but it's not. It happened back whenever they said, next issue, the Empire Strikes Back, but it wasn't. Here, at the bottom, the Big Con, it says Lando Calrissian and Chewbacca, the Wookiee, starring in The Big Con. You go to the next issue, and it's an issue number 78 entitled Hoth Stuff. What? They had another filler issue. They brought in a new issue by David Michelinie and waited on The Big Con until the issue after that. So we have a story here of the characters heading off in two different directions, only we only see one direction before there's a filler issue, before we see the next direction here. So, is this story, Chantanus of the Stars, an essential read? No. Avoid at all costs. It is horrible. Is it an important piece in the connecting with Tay Vanus? Maybe a little bit. I would say that makes it of interest to Marvel readers, but still not essential to Marvel readers. There's not enough in here of that storyline to make it essential. You can just pick up the next one where the storyline continues, or maybe just read a couple of pages of it and be okay. But the broader story, the entire story, this story, it is to Star Wars comics of the Marvel series as the Ewoks cartoon is to Star Wars as cartoons. And if you've ever seen the Ewoks cartoon, especially Season 2, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. It's just not a good story. So many stereotypes, so many plot devices that are sort of tropes out there, all crammed into one. Avoid this one, if it's at all possible. With that rather negative note, we'll end this episode. Thank you for watching, especially enduring this one, and may the Force be with the readers.